Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, I want to discuss in today's video the question of whether or not Bitcoin is actually about to go to $6,000, and then, if the answer to that is yes, is Bitcoin going to break $6,000? We're very close to it, and it does seem that we're entering a bull market, but of course, things are not always what they seem, and sometimes Bitcoin will do something that you don't expect. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing the technical analysis surrounding these two questions. So guys, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing that notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel when you do that, and I would be appreciative if you did it. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. As you guys know, Bitcoin is trading around $5,700 after running quite a ways here over the last couple of days. Bitcoin was trading down here in this ascending triangle pattern before breaking bullish and moving all the way up to a recent high of around $5,800. That is also, like I said in yesterday's video, a yearly high. Bitcoin is doing the best it has all year, and we're all very happy about that, and we all rejoiced and sang kumbaya. But anyway, Bitcoin has gone and run several percent here, over 10% in fact. About 9% actually, if you define it that way. About a 10% run here on Bitcoin. But is Bitcoin going to go to $6,000? Because $6,000 is sitting right above us. We're so very close to it. It's already over $6,000. Bitcoin is on Bitfinex. So is Bitcoin on the exchanges not using US dollar tether going to actually go to $6,000? Well, there are a lot of different things I want to discuss as it relates to that. And one of the first has to do with price history. As you guys know, when you're looking for levels of support and resistance, you need to look at previous price data. And we're going to be using the VPVR for the first time here on the channel in today's video to discuss that here in a bit. But the first thing I want to point out is the only real recent support or resistance or even trading that we've seen around the level that we're currently at. $5,800 is right around where we're getting resistance, even though we're trading at $5,700. There's only two levels of support and resistance to look at for this. As you guys can see, back over here in November, Bitcoin was trading around this level a little bit, right around $5,700 to $5,800 when we came down here into this triangle and this continuation pattern and Bitcoin fell over. That is where we saw a little bit of trading, but if you guys will notice, this line right here, this little dashed line right here represents exactly where Bitcoin is right now. We've already cleared all of this. We're already above all of this, all of that price history, so Bitcoin's already cleared that resistance. You have to go all the way back to June of last year to figure out where we're finding resistance right now, and that would be back over here when Bitcoin fell below $6,000 all the way down to $5,750 and then managed to bounce. Back over there is where Bitcoin finally went down to where we're currently trading. That's the only bit of price history that we have at the levels we're currently at. There's absolutely nothing else stopping us from going straight to $6,000. As I've talked about in yesterday's video and in many other videos in the past, what you will often find is that with large, important, strong levels of support and resistance, $6,000 very much so being one of those, what you will find is that they have a kind of magnetism or a kind of gravity to them. When you get close to them, you're typically going to go all the way to them and maybe even a little bit beyond them before you actually finally reject off of them, or indeed in this case, perhaps break through them. Now, with all of that said, if you do go all the way back to last year, excuse me, not last year, the year before last, we do see that there's a little bit of price data over here around $5,800 in October and November of 2017. Not a whole lot though. Bitcoin's basically cleared everything to $6,000. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple other reasons why I think Bitcoin is about to go to $6,000. One of them has to do with the fact that Bitcoin is trading over $6,000 on Bitfinex right now. Now, Bitfinex does use US dollar tether, even though this just says US dollar. This is actually, in fact, a US dollar tether chart, and that's the reason I don't use the Bitfinex charts, because if we go ahead and switch back and forth here, you will find that there are some important differences between these two charts, namely this little pump over here and also namely where Bitcoin is currently trading. I'm not a fan of the Bitfinex chart, but I do have it up because sometimes we need to look at it. With that said, Bitcoin trading over $6,000 on Bitfinex does lead me to believe that we're probably going to go to $6,000. And of course, the final reason why I think we're going to $6,000 before we dive into whether or not Bitcoin will break $6,000 has to do with the VPVR. Now guys, I'm going to do an entire video on the VPVR in the future in the course, and I'm going to talk about it more in coming videos, so I'm not going to dive into it too much. But essentially what the VPVR does is it looks at how much trading is going on at what price level and integrates volume into that to give you levels of support and resistance and where you're going to find the most support and resistance. And as you guys can see, there was a lot of trading down here in between $6,000 and $7,000, so there's a very big candlestick here on the VPVR. But what you'll find also is that on the VPVR, over the last several months, over the last couple of years, in fact, there's not a whole lot of data. There's not a whole lot of trading to give us resistance in the range that we're currently at. Bitcoin has a very, very small, these are very small candlesticks here on the VPVR, very small bars here on the VPVR, so it's very likely that Bitcoin is going to go all the way up to $6,000. Now, those are 3 reasons why I think we're going to $6,000. We've talked about how there's really no resistance in the past. We talked about that on the chart and the VPVR level. And we also talked about Bitfinex having a $6,000 Bitcoin already. And of course, I can throw one more piece of analysis in there for good measure. Everybody's excited for $6,000, and a lot of people are going to be buying right now, looking for long-term positions, looking for short-term positions with a lot of leverage. There's a lot of bullish exuberance in the market right now, and it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we went straight to $6,000. From there, I want to discuss whether or not Bitcoin is actually going to break $6,000. Will Bitcoin actually manage to go up and break this all-important level of support and resistance? Well, if we look back on the history of Bitcoin, of course, we're going to find that $6,000 is a very important level of support and resistance for Bitcoin. All of this price data back here shows that. If we bring up that VPVR, once again, we're going to find that in between $6,000 and $7,000, there is a major spike on the VPVR right here. And that's because there's a lot of trading that went on back here, which means that there's all kinds of levels of resistance back here. If we go up to like $10,000, for example, then that means that we're going to have a lot of support back here. But right now, what we can see is that the VPVR has some very large bars over here. And when it does, that means that there's a lot of trading going on, and that also typically means that there's a lot of resistance going on. $6,000 to $7,000 is the key level that we're going to need to get through. It's the key zone that we're going to need to get through before Bitcoin can go on its bull market. Because before Bitcoin goes on its bull market, it has to get through that. There are some very strong levels. There are some very strong levels of resistance there that Bitcoin will have to get through. Now, will Bitcoin get through it? I think it will. I think Bitcoin probably will get through $6,000. Maybe not right now. Maybe not this month, but probably within the next 3 to 6 months. It's very possible, and maybe not necessarily improbable, that Bitcoin does actually fall down and then go on a rally again and start a bull market later. That is not out of the question. I don't want anyone to discount that, because that can and very well may happen. I've seen things like that happen in the past. But at the same time, there's a lot of exuberance in the market. So let's dive into the technicals that show us whether or not we're going to break $6,000. One of them has to do with a very, very important cross that I'm sure you guys are familiar with. That would, of course, be the golden cross that we've seen here in the last couple of days. Back over here on the 23rd of April, the 50 crossed the 200 moving average out on the daily chart. That is a golden cross, and as you guys will well know by now, that is a very, very important indicator that a Bitcoin bull market is coming. The last time we saw one of these crosses like this, right over here, a bull market formed. Right before that, one formed, a golden cross, and then a couple months later, the actual bull market started. So sometimes you will have to wait a little while, but typically when you see a golden cross and you see a confirmed one, you see a well-structured one like we have, this is a textbook golden cross right here. This is perfect. There's no problems with this. When you see one of these, it typically means that a bull market is coming in the next 3 to 6 months. That is almost invariably going to be true. Almost always going to be true, especially in this case. Especially on Bitcoin. These are especially timestamped, especially prevalent and accurate on the Bitcoin chart. With that said, that's just one technical indicator saying we're going to break $6,000. And that might not be now, that might be later. That's not really the most important technical indicator. One of the most important things I want to discuss here has to do with the levels of resistance that we're looking at, like I said on that VPVR, and also whether or not the people in the market want Bitcoin to actually go that high. As you guys can see, one of the highest bars here on the VPVR is right here around $6,500, right around $6,300 to $6,500. That is a very important level. When or if Bitcoin breaks through that and we get some exuberance, then Bitcoin I could very easily see taking off. I think there's going to be a lot of people that when Bitcoin gets close to $6,000 are just going to start FOMO buying and buying a crap ton of Bitcoin. They're just going to see Bitcoin go to $6,100 and they're going to say, okay, bull market started, I'm going to go buy 5 Bitcoin. Or, okay, Bitcoin ran to $6,200, time to buy my retirement fund. You know, that's how people work. They see Bitcoin break a level of resistance, and even if we haven't necessarily broken it properly, even if there's a good chance that we're going to fall back over, a lot of people are going to say, okay, we broke it, time to buy. And these people in a normal market where there's not a lot of exuberance, they would be the ones getting screwed because they bought the top. But in this case, I think there's going to be so many people with so much exuberance buying the top up here that it's actually going to manage to propel Bitcoin even farther. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest either. And it would actually kind of surprise me if that didn't happen. If we do break above $6,000, perhaps there's going to be some big whales that want to sell their bags. There are a lot of people that bought bags down here at $3,200 and they're looking to get out of short-term positions. But at the same time, you must also remember that the people that were smart enough to buy down at $3,200, the institutions, for example, realize that if Bitcoin breaks $6,000, they have a lot more profit to hold on to. So maybe they'll take some profits at $6,000, but I don't think they're going to go dumping all of their bags. I think they're going to be buying more, actually. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I know I'm buying Bitcoin all the time right now. I'm trying to load up as much as I possibly can before Bitcoin starts taking off on the next bull market. I think Bitcoin is going to break $6,000. I think there's a lot of reasons to believe that. One of them also has to do with the weekly chart RSI, as I've talked about in a couple videos. This is a very important chart as well, this weekly chart RSI, because if we look back into history here, what we'll find is that every time Bitcoin comes down into a bull market, into a bear market and accumulation phase cycle, all of this time over here, and get our cross out here, every time Bitcoin is in a bear market, Bitcoin's RSI is below this 60-ish level here on the RSI. And whenever Bitcoin gets above that level, right over here, as you can see, Bitcoin's in a bull market. And vice versa. Whenever Bitcoin is above this level, we're in a bull market. Whenever we're below it, we're in a bear market. Guess what just happened on the Bitcoin RSI here on the weekly chart? We are now above this level. This is the first time we have breached this level in a very, very long time. The last time we saw this kind of thing happen, you guessed it, was the week that the 2016-17 Bitcoin bull market started, guys. That is huge. That is a very, very big deal. One that I don't want to overplay, but also one that's hard to overplay, because this is one of those technical indicators that does seem to be right most of the time. The weekly chart RSI, there's a lot of technical indicators that will give you false signals. Sometimes they'll say one thing and the opposite will happen. Sometimes they'll say one thing and that will happen. The weekly RSI here on the weekly chart for the RSI, this chart is very important, and it's very powerful, and it's very rarely wrong. I'm not going to get into it too much in today's video because we are running long here, but just know the fact that we have broken this level on the RSI out on the weekly chart is one of the confirmations of a bull market that I've been looking for, and we've just seen it on this weekly candlestick because of the price action that we saw in the last couple of days. That is huge. Speaking of huge, to wrap the video up, there's a moving average that I want to show you guys, and that would be the 50 weekly moving average out here on the weekly chart. We go ahead and go back out to our other chart here. What we'll find if we turn log off is that Bitcoin has basically come up here and broken this 50 moving average, this 50 weekly moving average right here. This is a very important moving average. This moving average is one that we've been below for the majority of the bear market. Bitcoin did take a little while to get below. It did take a sweet time, but eventually Bitcoin did actually get resistance on it and fall back below because Bitcoin, was still in a bear market. Guess what happened last time when Bitcoin was going into this proto rally before the bull market actually started? I've been talking about for like 2 months that I think Bitcoin's here, but Bitcoin has finally deviated from that. In this period over here, guess what Bitcoin did? It got resistance at the 50 weekly moving average. It rejected from the 50 weekly moving average. And then when it started the bull market, guess what it did? It was at that time that Bitcoin broke the 50 weekly moving average. Instead of Bitcoin getting resistance at the 50 weekly moving average and falling over and entering that downtrend that we've been talking about for so long because it would get resistance at the 50, guess what happened? Bitcoin broke it. The last time Bitcoin broke the 50 weekly moving average, a bull market that would last 27 months ensued and saw Bitcoin run from around $250 to $20,000. That is a big deal and something that we don't want to ignore, we don't want to write off. And by the way, the only other time that Bitcoin has broken the 50 weekly moving average in a bullish manner was in 2012. And guess what? That was followed by a bull market as well. Bitcoin has only ever broken above this level twice, really. Now, Bitcoin did break above it once over here, but that's a fake out, and this is a very, very young market at this point, so that's not really going to count. Only twice has Bitcoin ever really actually properly broken bullish out of that moving average, and every single time that it has done so, a bull market has started. Guess what just happened? Bitcoin just did it for a third time, and Bitcoin is about to start the third major bull market in its history, and you guys are watching history being made at this very moment. Years from now, we'll be looking back at what the market did at this very moment, and we'll be saying, okay, this is how the market interacted with these technical indicators. Let's use this along with the 2015 bull market starting to go ahead and predict how the 2023 bull market will start. That's what we're going to be doing, and that's what I'll be doing here on YouTube, and hopefully you guys will still be here with me, and we'll all be sitting on our mountains of gold, singing Kumbaya, buying Lamborghinis, popping champagne corks, and of course, like I said in the other video, driving 15 cars because we're all rock stars anyway. That's a terrible reference. Guys, a Bitcoin bull market is coming. I think Bitcoin is very soon to break $6,000 at this point. This little rally that we've seen here, little probably isn't a very good word for it. This major rally that we've seen here over the last several days has been very, very decisive. I've been talking about for a couple of months now that Bitcoin is getting very close to a decisive point. This rally right here, this very rally right here that you're looking at, it started here on April 30th. This rally has just started a bull market. I believe that. I think that the technicals are pointing to that. I think that people are ready for it. I think the market is ready for it. I think the fundamentals are ready for it. And the fact that Bitcoin broke bullish out of this ascending triangle pattern Bitcoin instead of bearish, this very tiny break right here, this little breakout right here, that is what just defined whether or not Bitcoin is going to enter a bull market or a bear market. And that's why I do these videos every single day. That's why I stress to you guys the importance of short-term and long-term technical analysis, because long-term technical analysis very often overrides short-term technical analysis. But there's a very important caveat to that. And that is that sometimes long-term decisions will be made on the short-term charts. This breakout right here was the deciding point that we've been talking about for a long time. I never knew exactly where it would come from. I didn't know if it'd be right up here, if it'd be right down here, if it'd be down here. I didn't know where it would be, but I knew there was a decisive point coming to Bitcoin, and I knew it was going to happen soon. And it happened. Right here, 8 a.m., April 30th, 2019, Bitcoin broke bearish. Bitcoin went on a rally following that, and I think this rally, since it broke the 50 weekly moving average and because of everything else we've discussed in today's video, has just started a bull market. Now, we haven't gotten total confirmation of that. I want to see Bitcoin break $6,000 before we go and say, okay, Bitcoin is now properly in a bull market. I know I said that a second ago, but I think that it's like 99% certain that we're doing that. Either way, guys, I'm excited. I'm not FOMOing here. This is all the same logical technical analysis that you guys know. I've managed to get my emotions completely out of my trading. I managed to do that pretty early on in my career here in the cryptocurrency space. But either way, guys, do tell me in the comment section down below what you think about this market. Where do you think Bitcoin is going? Do you disagree that a Bitcoin bull market is starting? And if so, why? I would be very interested to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. As always, you guys know I read every single comment. There's over 10,000 comments on this channel by now, and I have tried to read every single one of them. Of course, sometimes I don't manage that because there's so many of you guys now. We're getting close to 20,000 subscribers. I can't believe that. My mind is blown every time I think about that. But either way, guys, I'm always well and truly humbled by you. Thank you so much for watching the channel, sticking with us through this bear market. Guys, this channel was started a month before the bear market started. This channel has been operational for the entirety of the bear market. And you guys know I am very, very much looking forward to the 2019-2020 bull market, and I think you guys are too. So let's have a little bit of fun. Make sure you load up on Bitcoin if that's your prerogative. I'm not giving you financial advice, so don't go sue me. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next bull market. Peace.